Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, young people who behave in a harmful sexual way should be considered as children and not mini sex offenders, according to a new study supported by the charity Barnardo's.
Well, the report warns that easy access to pornography has created new challenges for keeping youngsters safe, and that they should get support rather than be, as they put it, unnecessarily criminalised.
One of the things the inquiry is calling for is for the government to produce a national strategy to help better understand and tackle this little known, little understood and taboo subject. And really at the centre of that, we really want to make sure that children get the support they need to deal with their behaviours so that they don't carry on repeating them in future.
Now to Dr. Liz, social worker and now reader in child protection at London Metropolitan University. Liz, let's just set out how children are treated at the moment. At what age, it's 10, isn't it, the age of criminal responsibility comes into. So between 10 and 15, this is the age group we're talking about where children are becoming criminalised.
Yeah, well, of course, the age of 10 as the age of criminal responsibility is quite shocking, really, compared with other parts of the world. And, I really support the Scandinavian model, which takes a therapeutic approach to children in these situations as victims and as also if they're perpetrators of online abuse. And the criminal age of responsibility in Scandinavia is 15, and that's far more appropriate because it allows it gets rid of the fear associated with being criminalised and enables much better standards of reporting from parents and from the children themselves.
So what happens at the moment if say, a 13 or 14-year-old sends an inappropriate tweet or a text? It might be a picture of themselves to somebody. They could be prosecuted. What actually happens to that child?
Well, obviously, a child who's in that situation, they may not even know what they're doing is illegal. They think what they're doing is in the private of their own homes, and they may also be replicating abuse that's happening to them themselves. So there is the Children Act, and it has clear child protection procedures attached to it for a multi-agency meeting, called a strategy meeting, to decide the appropriate way forward. And that might be the criminal route, or it might be the child protection route, or it might actually be both, because they're different processes and they run different ways. What you need to realise is all these procedures were in place nationally up to 2010. So whilst this report's very welcome, it's actually, we have had these systems in place in the recent past. And we know this is becoming a vastly more serious problem day by day, but this government actually got rid of the procedures in 2013. So we need to go back to the procedures that used to be in place for multi-agency working.
Looking at the figures for 2013-2014, 4,200 children were reported for this kind of behaviour. Now these are the ones that are reported to the authorities. What happens to those children at the moment?
Well, obviously what should happen is there should be a therapeutic route, and that this report rightly points out the urgent and desperate need for therapeutic work with these children, as well as obviously for protection plans to keep them safe if they are victims themselves. And we do know that a large percentage of them are actually victims themselves. Let's go for the real criminals in this situation. Apart from the industries that allow this material online, what about the perpetrators that are busy grooming children and abusing them online? So, the police obviously are trying their best to seek prosecutions of the adults in this field, but the children themselves need so much therapy and support, even if that comes via a criminal a prosecution route. That's the service that they need. And these services, of course, are being drastically cut back. And we're in a position of, up to 50% cuts in local authorities and in mental health services. So you have to see this report in that context. It's rather idealistic, although it's absolutely right in what it's asking for.
I mean, that was my next question, really. What framework exists at the moment? You say that it's better for the children to go down this therapeutic route. If they are discovered to be doing this kind of behaviour, I mean, what route would they go down? Would their GP become involved?
Well, it would be a multi-agency response, and that is all set out within the statutory guidance, though, as I said, that's been drastically reduced prior to privatisation of child protection services, very sadly. But, it is in place for there to be a multi-agency response, and that, of course, involves people who've known the child throughout their life, like the GP, like the school, like the health services. And it also involves the police, statutory police, child abuse investigation teams working with social workers. And, they come to a considered view initially of, is this child replicating abuse that they themselves have experienced? And we do know the enormity of that problem. And that's the first route. If it is agreed that a prosecution of the child is the right way forward, and then seek a therapeutic route after that, that's another decision that would have to be made. And the child, obviously, in that situation has got rights and to have lawyers present and all the rest of it as a suspect. But, by far the preferable route, and I'm really glad the Children's Commissioner is promoting the Children's House model from Scandinavia, because from the minute the situation you're referring to, a referral comes in about these children, they are treated therapeutically, and then they're interviewed forensically by police and social workers, but the therapist has the last say in how these children are treated, and that's the model that the Children's Commissioner is wanting to come in this country now, and I fully support that.
Okay. Dr. Liz Davis, child protection expert, thanks very much.